everybody, I hold on to your butts. We're going for it.
I want that guy's butt. I want his butt.
And I want it now. Yeah. This is giving me a hard on.
I want some butts!
Yeah. Fucking 80s flicks, eh?
Well, it's a homoerotic movie disguised as an aviation movie.
Basically. Yeah. It's a recruitment ad.
Yeah, well, wrestling in a nutshell is, lad, you know, you can't tell me a lot of dudes closeted weren't rubbing themselves with baby oil and watching all the wrestling matches. You know, Hulk Hogan comes out there, you know, 6'7", blonde, oiled up, jacked up, always talking about hanging and banging. Come on. I bet you in the gay community, Hogan probably back in the 80s was like an icon.
100%.
Just like Cher.
And Michael Jackson. You know,
I thought Michael Jackson was only in the pedo community.
Well, you could be in both communities. You can.
I get. Yeah, they're trying to absorb into one.
They kind of are. Hey, don't backtalk my Michael.
All right, guys. This is OTR. We're here with what is this? A nostalgia review of the inaugural Royal Rumble. So in January of 1988, the WWF, or WWE now, rolled the dice on a concept that would eventually become one of the most iconic matches in professional wrestling history. Not WrestleMania, not SummerSlam, but the first Royal Rumble. And at the time, no one knew this match would evolve into a cornerstone of WWE storytelling. There was no title shot on the line, but it wasn't a stadium-sized spectacle. We got instead was this fascinating prototype, experimental, historically important for wrestling.
It was. It is my favorite PLE, in my opinion. Out of all the PLEs all year long, it is my favorite. I really enjoy watching the Royal Rumble, and watching the 1988 Royal Rumble for the first time the other night was actually quite awesome. It was my first time I stepped away from wrestling, and I never got a chance to see all the PLEs because I just didn't have the pay-per-view package or whatnot. So watching these on Netflix has been really great for me. So I really enjoyed the watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I like going back to the throwbacks, seeing all the physical builds of the steroid bust of the 80s. Good.
Yeah.
Seeing all those zits on the back of Rick Rude from all the human growth hormone he's been taking.
You could tell he was only of upper body bodybuilder, because if you looked at his legs, they were little sticks.
He skipped leg day. Yeah, for sure.
Those glamour muscles.
Yeah. Well, you know what's kind of interesting with this is that this was the first televised Royal Rumble, but they actually did an experimental treatment for in actually October of 1987 in St. Louis, but it was a 12-man match. And actually the one-man gang, who was like, I think the last person to be eliminated in this one, won it. And that was actually which is interesting how the Royal Rumble is basically whoever wins it has a free ride to a WrestleMania main event title shot. In 1987, that was actually used to springboard one-man gang for a title shot in the next event with Hulk Hogan. But in this one, there was a championship match because the winner was a good guy. So you just didn't see Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who won it, would face Hulk Hogan unless he was a heel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember. Did they do the Battle Royales at WrestleMania before the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, well, WrestleMania 2, they had the 20-man Battle Royal, because like the 20-man Battle Royal has been around for the longest time, but with this one was Patterson, who was a former wrestler and a long-term worked with the office close with Vince McMahon. It was kind of his concept where it was like every few minutes people would come in, every man for himself. It was kind of his baby. And,
the Battle Royale, everyone started off at the same time.
Yeah. And
they took that concept to make the Royal Rumble.
Because when you watch 20-man battle royals, it's usually chaos as a viewer to watch it even on television, because there's so much going on and it's so congested with bodies. It's just guys like basically bear hugging each other until they start throwing people out and kind of eliminating and making the ring open up where they can start kind of performing more wrestling type moves.
Yeah, and every entrant could get their minute in the spotlight before it goes back to the chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, rewatching this to bring this back on track, watching how flawed this is and some of the stuff that you can nitpick, I still thoroughly enjoyed this first Royal Rumble. And it kind of makes me a little bit sad with kind of what's happening with wrestling today, that I enjoy this way more than I'm watching the current stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of fun. I thought the commentary with Jesse Ventura and Vince McMahon was spot on. That Jesse Ventura and Vince McMahon always played well with each other, because like, if you really listen to Jesse Ventura, he is more correct than Vince McMahon. You see how biased Vince McMahon, who's always cheering for the baby faces, is actually so biased. Like, you know, like you could tell Vince McMahon was licking Hulk Hogan's sack at this time. Right? Because we have to remember, this was like the height of like Hulkamania. Yeah. Like it was his peak. 1988 was the peak, right? And then they built stuff around heroes and villains. And so, yeah, it was, I don't know. I quite enjoyed this event.
Yeah, I like all the different ways Jesse has to grill Vince, like in the first match there with Ricky and Rick Rude. Like, yeah, when Rude pushed Ricky out of the ring over the rope, Vince like, oh, he grabbed his tights. He's like, well, how do you know? We don't have instant replay.
Yeah.
Didn't they show like a replay of the match later on or something?
Yeah. Jesse was great.
He's always been one of my favorites. Like him and Gorilla Monsoon, him and Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura. He makes the events, and he really made this Royal Rumble very entertaining. And I guess since we'll start, this has only 4 matches, and we started the night off with 2 really good ring performers, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ravishing Rick Rude. It ended with disqualification, and it almost went 20 minutes. I really quite enjoy this type of match, and this is always, these types of wrestling matches to me still are superior even to the stuff we see today, because I like hot dogging Rick Rude and him just even doing like holding his arm and just the facial expressions, and how Rick Rude would like play to the crowd, and when his shoulder was injured and he was trying to do his posing, you could tell Rick Rude was like a professional. He still would play that he's injured. And Ricky the Dragon is, you know, he's like one of the greatest baby faces there. He's never been heel. So matching those two together is always magic.
Yeah, I liked in the crowd, there was that lady with a megaphone in there.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. Yeah.
I don't know if they took it away from her because she didn't have it the rest of the match, or if she was like a plant. Like, I don't know, it's a mystery to me.
To me, it seems like they told her to shut up. I think they told her to shut up and she put it down.
Yeah, they might have told her to tone down after a while, but I thought that was cool because, and what's cool is this was at Cops Coliseum in Hamilton, Ontario. So actually the first Royal Rumble was held outside of the United States. Yeah. And what I really noticed, and I wonder if you guys noticed this, but fans were really kind of like, they cheered for like so much and booed. Like I noticed like in this small little venue, how interactive the crowd was back then. Like they cheered Ricky, they booed Rick, Rude, even like the other wrestlers, like for example, the Jumping Bomb Angels, they're Japanese female wrestlers. You can't tell me they didn't knew much about these girls, but they knew they were baby faces and they knew the Glamour girls were heels. And you could still, that match had a good pop.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say, and obviously this was probably par for the course in 1988 for the wrestling, but just it's really, it took me by surprise because you go back to 1988 and you watch these wrestlers wrestle and how fast their movements are in the ring, especially when they're even going for like a missed clothesline and the guy ducks, how fast Rick Rude like swings his arm and Ricky kind of ducks just like inches away from his arm. Mm-hmm. It's so good, like so good. Today, when I watch people do the missed clothesline, it is so slow and sloppy. It really disgusts me. So the sheer talent of the wrestlers back then, it just supersedes everything. Like you just can't replicate that today.
No, you can't. And then the thing is also this was a different era. Like both Ricky and Rick Rude both came from, the territories, and they really honed their craft. And back then they still used kayfabe. People still thought wrestling was somewhat real, and they protected the business. And a lot of guys like Rick Rude and even Bret Hart, they made it look as snug as possible. And they were really good showmans when they did this. And you're right, like today when you watch it, like look at when Maxine Dupree did her little roundhouse kick on Becky Lynch. Totally missed her, and then Becky Lynch acted like she got hit. If you ever hear some of the documentaries or hear like old interviews, a lot of times they would talk about receipts. So sometimes like the wrestlers would get so into it where they'd actually really hit each other, and like, they wouldn't do it on purpose, but they wanted to make it look so authentic. And I think today that's why part of it kind of sometimes bothers me. You can see how like, not so much choreographed, but like you can see like when they duck a clothesline, it's really telegraphed.
You could really sell. They don't sell it very well at all. It's very slow, and they're very far away. Even like I just the precise or the precision of the moves back in 1988 were so much better.
Yeah, well, obviously now everything's a lot more acrobatic and flashy. Back then it was just the weird stiff shots and more of a fight kind of thing that they're faking. I don't know. Yeah, you could definitely tell it's a different era.
It is.
Yeah. The Ricky Steamboat and Rick Rude ended in a disqualification.
I have a question, okay? And this is about the ending of the Steamboat match. Okay, so Rick Rude had him in several submission holds. Okay, Ricky was tapping the mat like several times, but the ref didn't count that as tapping out? No. Like, I don't understand. Did he have to fall asleep?
I had that same thing in my notes here, too. I was wondering, was a tap out thing not a thing back in 88?
Because he was like, tapping.
No,
trying to rev himself up, but like tapped.
If you kind of notice tapping the mat today, wrestling kind of has taken on a little more of like a MMA, where if a guy taps out, he's done. But back then, tapping out like that didn't mean that he surrendered. It was more like he was pleading to the crowd. So it was more of a verbal, yes, I quit. In those scenarios, in those submission style holds back then in the 80s, 70s, and 90s. No. And like, if you remember, if guys had him in a sleeper, they wouldn't just hold the hand up once and let it drop. It would be like 3 times. Before the match would be called.
I made another note on that, and he did let his hand fall 3 times, and they still didn't call the match.
He did. He fucked up. That's actually a good view. Yeah, the ref fucked up because he actually technically Rick Rude should have won the match then.
Yep.
You got one of classic Jesse's phrases in that match when Rick had Steamboat in the crossface or whatever on the ground and his hand was over the mouth. And Vince is going, I think he's trying to verbally give up. And Jesse goes, or you must have 20/20 hearing then, Vince.
I love how Jesse calls out Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
It was great. And he did that the whole time. I like how the match ended. Okay, it was a disqualification, but Rick Rude kind of won. I like that where it kind of keeps everybody looking good. There is kind of a finish, but it's kind of a fuck finish. I wish they would do that more today, where, okay, Rick Rude won, but he didn't win, but he still looks good. He still keeps his heel heat, but Ricky's protected too. So then now they could continue on this little, program. That's what they did. I felt still fulfilled in this match.
Yeah, no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
I have to say, if it was a negative, it did feel like it was more of, yes, they were trying a concept with the Royal Rumble and some of the storylines, but it really felt like the biggest thing was Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant's rematch from WrestleMania 3, because that was really what it was really built around. Yes, it was the Royal Rumble, but to be honest, because it's the Hulk Hogan show back then, it still felt like it was more of Hulk Hogan and Andre and their rematch at Saturday night's main event, where he would go on to lose to Andre the Giant due to the 2 twin refs and the fuckery by $1 Million Man. And then it led to WrestleMania 4 tournament where Macho Man won. But anyways, that's the only thing I could say that does bother me about this. I felt like it still is more about Hulk Hogan than really the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it did
the
feel like
contract signing.
After this match, we went into the Dino Bravo attempting to bench press the world record, was 715 pounds. And of course, we know that's legit because Jesse Ventura was there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He didn't help him at all.
Yeah. It's a pointless, stupid segment, but it's a nice, what I like about it and what they did back then, that was a way to draw heat to Dino Bravo. And what I like about how when he was bench pressing, because I used to do some powerlifting back in the day, you want people to be loud and screaming in you. And I always love the fact that I needed to be quiet. No, when you're doing heavy weight like that, you need whatever you can to get you jacked up, and having people cheer you on and yelling at you, that actually helps you. So I love the fact that keep it down and shut up. And also, of course, another nice effect is Gene Okerlund with Dino Bravo's manager Frenchie Martin, who refused to speak English there, and Gene kept saying, I know you can speak English, and it worked really well with the Ontario crowd, kind of Quebec versus Ontario and French-speaking Canadians.
Oh, hey, we're going to test this concept for a pay-per-view. What would really get this going? Let's try set a bench press record. That'll get people excited for this new match that we're going to try introduce and make a yearly event.
Well, I think it wasn't about the bench press. It was more about Dino Bravo being coined as the strongest man in the world, and that's why they did that.
Yeah, just to lose the Rumble.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest with you, I think Dino Bravo should have won due to this segment, and he should have won the Rumble, because when we talk about the Rumble match, it really didn't make sense. And it didn't accumulate anything. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who's like borderline, his character is retarded.
Yes. I love him so much.
Yeah. What I enjoyed about this was how much Gene Okerlund would add to these segments too, because I think this is what's missing today. They had Vince McMahon, Jesse Ventura, Gene Okerlund. You had Howard Finkel. He's still my favorite ring announcer. They had great people, personalities. That a little stupid, pointless thing is like a bench press in wrestling. It still made it entertaining, in my opinion. Okay, well, our next match highlighted some of the best the world had to offer in female wrestling.
They did a little bit, yep.
The Jumping Bomb Angels and the Glamour Girls. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match, but it was still serviceable. Like I said earlier, I was impressed that the crowd was kind of really behind the 2 Japanese wrestlers, because back then, the women didn't really have much, weren't a big part of the show. So, but I know in '88, Vince McMahon was trying to kind of feature them a little bit. Jimmy Hart and the Glamour Girls.
Yeah, I liked just the notorious soccer mom bodies that the female wrestlers have.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Comparing to now, it's like, oh man, there's smoke shows now. You're just someone's mom.
But the 2 Jumping Bomb Angels, I'd still give them a go.
Yeah, you never know. That thing might still have a good grip, like a good old corporate handshake.
But could tell the ring was pretty stiff.
Yeah,
those Bomb Angel girls, they were jumping and hitting the mat pretty hard.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it has the bounce that it has nowadays.
No, they were the Io Sky before Io Sky.
Yes, maybe one of them was Io Sky's mom.
Maybe.
I would like to hear more about that.
Another thing I noticed is in the women's matches, they actually told the crowd the combined weights of the contestants.
They didn't care about the women's feelings.
No.
They probably paid them freaking peanuts there.
Probably.
And makeup or something. Yeah, they didn't care.
Yeah.
They weren't taken as seriously. Like, I think Japanese wrestling, the women, just like how the Bomb Angels wrestled, but the Glamour Girls are your typical moms. They weren't wearing their little tights and all that. To me, I would see them having coffee, 2 middle-aged women having cigarettes and coffee and talking gossip. They look like to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were just the Golden Girls.
They're the Golden Girls. Yeah.
I thought the intensity was good. It was pretty good from start to finish. There were no low points for me in that women's match.
Besides the outfits.
Yeah.
It is any type of toe.
No toe. One thing I'll say, and I can't remember if it was during this match or maybe just after, but what I noticed is the camera panned on a father who had his son on his shoulders, and he was it looked like he was practicing a wrestling move in the crowd at his seat. Like he was standing up, but he was like kind of wrestling with his son. I thought that was really cool. Something that you don't see every day.
Yeah, the crowd was that bored that they were watching a wrestling match in the crowd.
Yeah, kind of cool. That's a Canadian crowd, right? So it kind of makes sense. What's your guys' thoughts on contract signing that are always highlighted on shows? I always seen them as kind of a pointless thing for these wrestling matches, but I don't know. I know it's a way to promote the match and add suspense and all that, and I don't know, but I always found these types of things kind of more of a waste of time.
They are, but I also I don't mind them because they usually end in chaos, right? So I'm always looking forward for that. Like there's always that build up to the chaotic end where someone gets slammed through a table or the desk, right? So that's there. But I find though, when you start to do it, like when you have the guys walking in, Andre took forever to sit down.
Partying that chair.
Yeah. Maybe that's why you didn't want to sit. But like, it breaks down the energy of the whole program. And that's like, maybe they want that. Maybe they want people to have a break. I don't know, but it just kind of brings it down to a lull.
Back then, because the monumental match with Andre and Hogan at WrestleMania, Hogan beat him. So then Andre was not on the scene for a while. He came back at November at Survivor Series. And then the $1 Million Man, the character came on. And so the pitch at that time, I don't know if you guys know, but $1 Million Man was trying to buy the world championship from Hulk Hogan. So Hogan and $1 Million Man were kind of feuding. So then $1 Million Man bought the services of Andre, and Andre obviously said that if I win the title, I'll give it to you. And this is what kind of led to this whole thing where they're, to add a little more of a dynamic, because Hogan already beat Andre, but now it's kind of like, can Hogan beat Andre? But now Andre is in the services of the $1 Million Man who wants the title. So it was a way to kind of add an extra layer to the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant feud, which I think at the time really worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thing that made me laugh the most about the $1 Million Man is I'm pretty sure Hulk Hogan and Andre make way more money than him.
Well, that's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you guys make a lot more than he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently when Ted DiBiase was given the gimmick, they actually had to have him actually almost flew first class. Vince McMahon actually set him up where he had to kind of live the lavish lifestyle. Because if you can find interviews of Ted DiBiase online where he was like, I was kind of given the gold key to the house. So, but you're right. He has a slave. And the crazy thing is they kind of played off on that in future storylines with Virgil and Ted DiBiase. He treated him kind of like a slave.
He did. But fuck, even Virgil, I bet you Virgil, well, maybe not, but it did seem like Virgil kind of lived vicariously through Ted DiBiase, with all the riches.
Yeah, when they split Virgil from Ted DiBiase, that actually hurt his career.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, good on your own.
Because if you think about it, $1 Million Man was a main event player. So Virgil was in those segments with Ted DiBiase. So Virgil, because I remember as a kid when $1 Million Man, he'd always would wrestle Macho Man. Because during that time he was feuding with Hogan, Macho Man. He had feuds with the Warrior. So the $1 Million Man was a big player. He never won the title. Technically, you could say he was the champion because Andre gave him the title, but he was always a main player, the $1 Million Man. So Virgil was front and center with him.
I loved his shtick. Man, that's an expensive shtick for sure.
But you're right, Matt. Now, Andre and Hogan probably were making way more money than Ted DiBiase for sure, guaranteed.
I think we can move on.
So that actually kind of takes us to the Royal Rumble itself. Even then, and seeing how all their careers went, it was a real stacked roster of personalities. You had Bret Hart, you had Jim Neidhart, you had Jake the Snake Roberts, you had Don Morocco, the first Rock, Tito Santana, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Ultimate Warrior. There was only 20 entrants, which was kind of interesting because obviously went out to 30, but only 20 entrants. Did you guys notice throughout the match that it was every 2 minutes someone would come down? You could tell they never followed that time limit closely. Because sometimes it felt like 2 minutes and then all of a sudden it was like outside of Nikolai Volkov, who came out with the other guy.
Yeah.
You see someone would come down and like, it was like a couple seconds later or like 30 seconds, they're doing the countdown again. It's like, that wasn't 2 minutes. But
right.
You guys notice that?
Yeah, it wasn't consistent, that's for sure.
I like how fast everyone got to the ring. Like there's no music. There's just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
You don't even see them run out from the entrance. They're just kind of already there.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, let the crowd tell you that that someone's coming, because usually you get a huge pop.
I liked how they started off the match with 2 really good ring vets with Bret Hart and Tito Santana. I think Tito Santana is always been kind of an underrated. I love how Jesse Ventura always calls him Chico Santana or Chico, or in other broadcasts he always refers to him with tacos and just politically correct. He's like, you ever had a taco from Tito Santana? You won't be the same for like 2 weeks.
That explosive of diarrhea.
Yeah. Poor hotel rooms.
The match was top heavy with heels beating the shit out of Tito Santana just to kind of really garner like sympathy for Tito until Jake Roberts came out, because you had Bret Hart, who was a heel at the time. You had the natural Butch Reed, but I doubt there was anything natural with him. And then Jim Neidhart.
Yeah, it was 3-on-1 for a while.
Yeah, well, the Hart Foundation was dominating most of it, basically until Jake came out. I think Jake got the first elimination ever in a Royal Rumble.
Yeah, he eliminated Butch Reed.
King Harley Race.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah, I like this segment when he was on the ropes, like one of those inflatable, like, bopping clown dolls.
Yeah. That's right. He was bouncing back and forth.
And I just love his build, because you could tell he was like a beer drinking, smoking, old grizzled like wrestler, tough as nails. Because Harley Race is one of those guys. He was a long time standing NWA champion. He was kind of like the predecessor to Ric Flair. And so Harley Race is like, his backstory as a world champion. And there's actually, if you guys look into it, there's kind of funny stories with Harley Race versus Hulk Hogan in, when Vince McMahon was trying to buy out the territories. There's like a story where Harley Race said, like, if he saw them, he was like going to kill them, and he had a gun, and there was a confrontation. So there's some funny stories that you guys should look into it. But yeah, I always enjoyed Harley Race.
He's very entertaining.
I always forget that the Killer Bees were still with the company, because Jumpin' Brunzell was in there. So I always, I think back in the day, they were quite popular with the Killer Bee outfits. And
they were my favorite tag.
Jim Brunzell has still the best drop kick, I think, or one of the best drop kicks in the business.
Yes, very good. Yeah, they were awesome at it.
And actually, like a little FYI, Sam Houston, they always have to have a cowboy in there. He's actually the half brother of Jake the Snake Roberts.
Is he really?
In real life, yeah.
I liked Hillbilly Jim's gimmick.
Oh, I loved it.
Big guy in some coveralls.
Yeah.
Bushman.
Yeah. And he was quite charismatic. Like, he was good on the mic. He was funny. It's kind of too bad they never really pushed him, because I think they could have done more with Hillbilly Jim. You don't mess with a big country boy.
He was a big dude.
And he looked more natural. I mean, he didn't look like he was juiced, or at least juiced to the gills, but he was just this big mountain of a man. But he was like so appealing, because he is this big figure, but you could tell that like kids would love him because he's like big teddy bear.
Yeah, the gayness in me was kind of curious to find out what he would make under those coveralls.
That is odd.
Well, it's like you get to see all these other guys, like what their chests look like and how buff they are. So I was like curious to see, what do you look like? Was that gay? That was gay.
That was pretty gay.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Okay.
Well, because the way it comes off, you wanted to see like what was in his shorts.
Not his shorts. I'm not going that low. Come on. You know me. I'm a sucker for the dragon's body, because I think he's got a good, sexy body. Ricky Steamboat.
Jesus Christ. The way you phrase how you like their builds is always super gay.
I know.
I always liked that he had a sexy body. Not like, man, he had a great aesthetic body, man. Like the guy was cut, but still thick. No, Turk. Oh yeah, he was sexy, man. And oh man, I really liked his back, his upper back. was fucking delicious.
Just a beautiful man. Yeah.
You know, the best part is nobody's gonna like listen to us, so we could put this on there and like, we're not gonna get canceled.
Well, I know one guy at work will probably listen. He'll probably piss his pants laughing. No, that would. Yeah, Fifth Gear will listen.
He might.
He loves, actually, Matt, Fifth Gear told me he loves you on the podcast. So,
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, Fifth Gear's been listening to us for quite a while there. You come on the scene and you're like the best.
Yeah. Fuck us. Yeah. Who cares about us two now?
I mean, that cracked me up. It's like, I know Matt's pretty delicious.
Yeah.
That's why we brought you on there.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to bring on more dudes in the audience.
That's right.
Okay, back to the Royal Rumble match. Yeah. What I really noticed, if you broke this down, there's a few individuals in here could have been possible winners. I think One Man Gang was probably one of the favorites. I thought Dino Bravo should have won this. That was their Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I was actually surprised the Ultimate Warrior really was useless in this match.
And he came in late.
Yeah, he came in late and came out early.
I don't think he eliminated anybody. Oh, no, he did eliminate Dino Bravo. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah.
No, Dino Bravo eliminated him.
Eliminated him.
Oh.
So Warrior didn't eliminate anybody. He basically, he was pretty useless in there.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. And actually, Junkyard Dog was really useless, too.
Yeah.
He had he is
last.
And he was only in there for 2.5 minutes.
So he would have been the shortest guy in the ring.
Yeah. Bret Hart had the longest time. He was 25, almost 26 minutes.
Right. Yeah, Jesse had to mention that every minute. I already had Bret Hart.
Yeah. And then, of course, Vince McMahon's like, well, what about Tito Santana? Only 10 minutes, Vince McMahon. That's not almost 30 minutes. Actually, Jake Roberts had the second longest time in the match.
Wait a minute. Did we ever get a DDT in that match?
The crowd kept chanting for it.
Yeah, they did. Never got it.
But that's what was so brilliant back then. The guys' finishing maneuvers meant something. So when they used it, it usually meant that the guy was done. Or now, like how many, FUs John Cena does on a guy, or how many stomps that Seth Rollins, or, go to sleep by CM Punk, they don't work anymore.
Well, now they hit it like when they come into the ring at a Rumble. They always start off with a finisher, then they get their highlights, and then kind of.
I will say though, I think the one finisher, the stomp from Seth Rollins, I think that's the one that still really plays hard that no one comes back from. I haven't noticed.
Well, CM Punk, I think he went through like 3 or 4.
Did he? When?
I think it was when they had their big steel cage match on Raw. He did at least 3 stomps and CM Punk.
Okay, no, I missed that then. Okay,
I could be being hyperbolic, but another thing I want to note on this Royal Rumble, and again, it shows me that what I don't like about today's Royal Rumble. Did you notice that they had tons of people in the ring, but there was no like a lot of people laying down or idle? Because I noticed when the guys come in for their big like run-ins and they do their finishing moves, you see a lot of leg with the wrestlers like either laying down outside or something where if the camera's not on them, there's not much happening. Where with this, the guys are just doing simple stuff. They were kicking, punching, trying to push them over, or you know what I mean, teaming up. I thought it felt more organic, the Royal Rumbles back then versus today, where when you watch them now, there's so much stuff that I find that I can nitpick. We're here, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense that they wouldn't be too much high flying or big clotheslines. It'd be this trying to get people out.
Yeah, they would take their time. They would, obviously there's a lot of big dudes in there. So, there goes the gayness again. But
anything that's long and delicious.
Settle down.
It would take a couple of guys to like try and lift him over the ropes, right? But they would always be unsuccessful. So that would take like a few minutes of time each time. So there was some good time wasting in there.
Yeah, I like the idle time. I think it was Hillbilly Jim a lot of the time. He's just walking around and doesn't know where he's supposed to go or what to do.
Yeah.
Lifting over here, I'll go help that. No, that didn't work out. I'm going to go on the other side of the ring and see what this guy's doing over here.
Yeah. And they still had the heel villain separation where you didn't see the heels fighting each other. There was always that separation because, like, Hillbilly Jim, he was looking for people to hit, but he'd see his buddies and he'd stay away. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the one thing I'll say about the ending of the Royal Rumble with Hacksaw Jim Duggan winning, the one thing that caught me, Jesse Ventura says, with his brain power, I bet he tripped and fell and grabbed the rope and one-man gang went over.
One-man gang for a big giant of a man. He can move pretty good.
He can. Yeah. Yeah. Big dude.
I like how they foreshadowed his elimination that way a lot of the times. And it was like the final four. They said, there's no way they could lift one-man gang over. He's going to have to fall over the top rope or something.
Yeah.
There's no way they could get one-man gang over there. He's too big.
Yeah. And when they're picking their favorites on the last three, like, no one picked Jim Duggan.
Yeah, everybody but Jim Duggan. They were picking Danny Davis versus Jim Duggan, right? The referee turned wrestler. The thing was Jim Duggan winning. That was kind of the one thing, is that his winning this Royal Rumble really didn't lead to anything. The winner got nothing out of it. Future Royal Rumbles, person winning this, you would get a world title shot. And so, which was interesting, Jim Duggan would go on to WrestleMania 4 in the first round and face $1 Million Man and lose, because you kind of thought, well, Jim Duggan was quite popular, so this was probably him winning. You'd like to think, well, this is to push his character, but in the end, he really didn't. Nothing really amounted to Jim Duggan after this Royal Rumble.
Yeah, that's too bad because his charisma was off the chart.
He was good, but he was never he was a main guy. Jake Roberts and Jim Duggan were the type of guy that they were popular enough with the crowd where they'd have the heel they wanted to face, Hulk Hogan, go through these guys first to get to Hogan. And so Jim Duggan was kind of one of those guys who was kind of a main event guy, but he wasn't the main event guy.
I don't think he was ever champion either.
No, he was never champion. Same with Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts never was champion. Well, nor was even Roddy Piper. The only thing Roddy Piper ever did was win the Intercontinental Champion, but that was more of a vehicle to push Bret Hart at WrestleMania 8. But yeah, there were some guys, but it's just, if it was a different era, guys like Tito Santana, I think Jake Roberts, Ravishing Rick Rude, probably guys that probably should have got a shot at being a world champion. Never got it because it was just a different time, right? It was Hulk Hogan. It was the biggest guy. Everything was built around Hulk Hogan. But anyways, I just thought I would throw that out there.
You forgot to mention one thing about Roddy Piper. He also wore blackface.
Do you know the story behind that blackface with him and not the Brooklyn Baller, Bad News Brown? Apparently that blackface he put on for WrestleMania 6, Andre the Giant and another guy, they actually spiked it where that blackface would not come off. It was like permanently on him, and it took weeks. And that's why if you watch during around that time, you didn't see Roddy Piper for weeks after WrestleMania 6 because he had blackface.
That's funny.
Yeah. You could not do that today. So yeah, that kind of leads us to our second 2 out of 3 falls match with the Islanders, Haku and Tama versus the Young Stallions, Paul Roma and Jim Powers. It was all right match. I thought more of a showcase for the Islanders.
Yep, it was. The one thing I'll say,
wins off.
Yeah, the one thing that I had a question. I questioned myself when I watched this match. I was always wondering, with the Islanders, did anyone ever, get like a foot injury, right? Wrestling barefoot. So like, did they ever break a toe or like an ankle injury? And actually the Islanders must have been really good with the bare feet because they never sustained an injury, but like Rikishi or Rusev in his initial run, they switched to boots after they received foot and ankle injuries when they used to wrestle barefoot. So it's pretty interesting to see that the Islanders wrestled forever barefoot and never got a toe injury or a foot injury.
Well, even with Jimmy Snuka.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying, how often do you think that you could like clash feet, while wrestling, even like in a simple grappling move that your feet could touch each other, or like one guy's wearing a boot and he fucking kicks the shit out of your toe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Walk down to the ring, I think would be uncomfortable. Yeah. Like walking around backstage.
Yeah.
And like going on the ropes and all that barefoot.
Yeah.
But those guys back then, they were known, like Haku kind of has a reputation as one of the toughest wrestlers. Like the backstage stories of him, that those guys were just built differently. And like those guys, I think they walked all the time everywhere barefooted. So their feet were probably so calloused that it wasn't, but I'm sure they probably had injuries, but it was a different time. And then, do a little snort here, a little injection here.
Yeah. They just didn't say anything, maybe. But, yeah.
They just wrestled through it. Cause like, if you hear The Undertaker, when he faced Mick Foley at the King of the Ring in that Hell in a Cell, that infamous match where Mick Foley was thrown off of the cage, he had like a broken foot, and he had like I think I don't know if it was a broken orbital bone. I'm probably mixing that up.
Didn't he have like a tooth go through his lip or something?
Well, yeah, Mick Foley did. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But Undertaker had a broken foot going into that match. These guys were just, you don't get paid if you don't wrestle.
Right. Yeah.
So they're a different breed, and the Young Stallions were like the pretty boys, right?
Yeah. Another thing about that match is another funny between Vince McMahon and Jesse, where Vince was commenting on, like, when one of the Islanders were on the top rope and he's like, look at how his foot grips a rope. And Jesse's like, I'm pretty sure that's racist.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm just saying. What are you talking about? Like, oh shit.
Yeah, like referring to him as a monk. And it's real rich coming from Jesse Ventura, who was calling Tito Santana Chico.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's racist, McMahon. I think you call that racism, man.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. Yeah, no, I always enjoyed watching the Islanders. I thought they were great.
But I enjoyed going back and watching these old pay-per-views or these old events, and the nostalgia, and a little bit of it sometimes is sad because a lot of these guys are no longer here. If you look at it, that Jim Neidhart's not here. The only, for sure, Jake.
You got a delicious daughter still around though.
Yeah, Natalia.
All right, fair enough.
I mean, she's got those big natural titties.
Yeah, those are natural.
The natty.
You mean like 90% of the female wrestlers?
To me, Rhea's, you could tell hers are real because they flop around.
Yes, they are.
Bailey, she's got some nice ones.
Bailey, yeah.
I
always want to have a milkshake when I see Bailey.
Oh, that pug face sets me off.
I like to set something on that pug face. I'm all right with that.
I mean, some people like pugs, I guess.
Yeah,
it's not my dog breed of choice.
Yeah.
All right, you've really gone off the rails here.
Hey, well, this is what this show is.
That's right.
I told you that we're going to go off the rails, so anyone that's listening, our one listener, will know this. The Royal Rumble is one of my favorite matches. It's a fantastic idea. The concept has worked forever. Even if it has flaws, and even sometimes execution doesn't always work, it's still just a legendary event for wrestling. I totally, always enjoy watching Royal Rumbles back then, and to today, I'm always interested in the Royal Rumbles, which is ironic that coming back to watch wrestling, Royal Rumble was the first event that I watched, actually getting back into it. I found that was kind of some of the irony to that.
Well, that also goes for me last year, Royal Rumble.
Yeah. For Matt, myself, and you, which is interesting, the Royal Rumble was kind of the gateway back to wrestling for all three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good way to start the year. Get ready for the busiest year, or the busiest part of the wrestling year. Kick off WrestleMania season.
That's where they put the strongest storylines. They start they're gearing up for the big event. And so WrestleMania season starts with the Royal Rumble. So there's always intrigue and interest. And I thought this 1988 was no different. Watching this gets you excited for WrestleMania 4, and just knowing how that all kind of transpired and turned out is wrestling history with the Macho Man and Hogan and all that. So this is part of the legacies. I'm looking forward to doing more of these types of commentary reviews. They're fun.
So wasn't it kind of weird though that Macho Man wasn't featured anywhere for the Rumble?
It would make sense that Macho Man should have won the Royal Rumble, elevate him to WrestleMania where he won the world title. Because if you think how they do it today, it would have been made perfect sense that Macho Man would have won this.
Or at least had a match somewhere on the card, but he was just completely not there.
Because you figured he would have been a part of this event somehow.
I mean, even if he was just in the Rumble and didn't win, but like got eliminated controversially or set up a story with someone else or something.
Mm-hmm. You know, he ended up being put into the WrestleMania tournament and ended up winning the whole thing at WrestleMania 4. This would have been a perfect time to kind of start the springboard for Macho Man, because from 1987, after WrestleMania 3, people started cheering and getting on the bandwagon for Macho Man. So he did kind of the switch to babyface, because they had that big match with him and Honky Tonk Man where the Hart Foundation came out there and interfered, and they hit Macho Man with the guitar, and Elizabeth brought Hulk Hogan, and that's where it was the genesis of the Mega Powers, when Hogan and him. So Macho Man was already a in-betweener. So at that point, it would have made sense Macho Man going into the Rumble and being highlighted, and like you said, in some type of capacity.
Yeah, and also there's no Honky Tonk Man. It's like, out of all the people in the Rumble, it's like, you could have replaced some of these people.
Yeah.
Sam Houston and Butch Reed.
Well, yeah.
Put in Honky Tonk, put in Macho Man, put in, people know. I guess in 88, people are remembered differently than they are now.
They are, but Honky Tonk Man was the reigning Intercontinental Champion. It would have actually made sense having him in the Rumble, being highlighted in there, and they could have played off of that. Guys are going after the Intercontinental Champion, and you can even say the guy that eliminated him in the Rumble, that could springboard him for like a feud with the Honky Tonk Man. Yet we got the Ron Bass, the outlaw Ron Bass. Who remembers that guy?
Right?
They had people in here that were old vets, maybe people that they could rely on. They would just highlight them, and that maybe they just didn't feel like they needed to. Honky Tonk Man at the time and also Macho Man already made guys that were on the upper card, where you could see a lot of these guys were either kind of elderly wrestlers like Harley Race, that's on the tail end of his career, and then you have guys like Sam Houston, some of these guys they brought in that don't really have a lot to them, that you're going to put him Ultimate Warrior. If you look at it, so if you look at like the guys that are in this, you have a couple like Jake the Snake was the biggest star in that Rumble outside of, like, we know history, Bret Hart and some of the other guys made their way, but if you look at who's the biggest name, it's Jake the Snake, maybe Hacksaw.
Yeah, Ultimate Warrior, if he would have been in there longer.
But these guys,
his big push.
Yeah, and this is at the time where Bret Hart never got his big push, really, and Ultimate Warrior never got his big push. Jim Duggan was just back on the scene with his drug violation. Junkyard Dog was already on the out because he was a big name, but at that point, Junkyard Dog was just about he would leave the company not too long after. I think in the summer of 88, he might have, after SummerSlam, that's when he ended up leaving. So Junkyard Dog was a big name, but at the time, he wasn't a name that was going to be someone they were going to push.
Yeah, he got a pretty good pop there when he came in at the end there.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, back in the beginning, like 84, 85, Junkyard Dog was just as popular almost as Hulk Hogan. Though Another One Bites the Dust, when he came in there, he kind of transcended things, and he was very popular. Kids loved him. I had his toy. Because as a kid, you don't think of political stuff like that. You're not thinking, well, the person's skin tone is darker or lighter. You're just like, this guy, I like his ring entrance. He's likable. He uses the headbutt. The Junkyard Dog was a really big name back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was also featured on the cartoon they had out as a wrestling cartoon there.
That's right. Hulk Hogan's, Junkyard Dog.
And where did they find Junkyard Dog? At the Junkyard Hall. He actually worked there.
He actually worked there, yeah. Yeah. And Tino Santana, he worked at a taco stand.
Good times.
Going back to Bret Hart, like seeing him in all these old events, they took him a long time to really give him a push.
Yeah.
Like if he was in WrestleMania 1? Debut in WrestleMania 2 at the Battle Royale.
Yeah, WrestleMania 2 was his first WrestleMania. So if you think about all the way back in 86, it took him from 86 all the way to late 92 for them to put the world title on him. So he was with the company almost 10 years before they did something with him.
That's pretty crazy, especially in hindsight.
At that time when they were going to do that transition, when Hulk Hogan was leaving and Ultimate Warrior due to kind of the drugs, they were looking at putting the title on either Bret Hart or Tito Santana, and they went with Bret Hart because his foreign mass appeal, and they went with Bret Hart. So I don't know if that's true, but if you go there, that there was talks of putting on Tito Santana, because there's always that Latino kind of fan base that I think wrestling always will look. They brought AAA, and look how well that's doing. So the Latino community has always been, with the Lucha Libres, has a love kind of for wrestling. And so I understand why they would even consider Tito Santana. And Tito Santana was an Intercontinental Champion twice. He was a tag team champion. He was good in the ring. I always liked Tito Santana. He was one of those good workers where, you put Mr. Perfect, or you put someone where it would get them ready to give them a push, right? That was Tito Santana.
Okay, well, that is our recap of the 1988 Royal Rumble. I hope to do some more in the future. I think we will. And some other PLEs of the past. I think that'll be great to go back 30, 40 years and watch these for the first time, for me anyways. And for you, Raz, it'd just be a rewatch. But yeah, it'll be fun. I can't wait.
I'm down with this too, man. I enjoy this, and I look forward to commentating on more of the classic pay-per-views that we grew up watching.
Matt, any last words?
I can't think of anything right now.
Come on now, Matt.
You're the quickest draw out of all three of us.
Come on.
I got real distracted about reading by Bret Hart and found out his middle name is Sergeant. How sad.
Okay, well, with that, yeah, we'll see you guys again. Thanks for listening.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the absolutely unhinged chaos of the 1988 Royal Rumble, where men were larger than life, hairlines were optional, and eliminations were more confusing than Hulk Hogan's memories. Remember, tonight's discussion was proudly brought to you by Hulk Hogan's Baby Oil, the only oil strong enough to make your biceps shine brighter than a WrestleMania spotlight. One splash, and what you gonna do when gravity just slides right off you, brother? But wait, if you want to take it to the next level, snap into it. Macho Man Randy Savage Super Duper Baby Oil. It is guaranteed to give you that extra macho in your man. We are talking about shinier lats, louder promos, and the uncontrollable urge to whisper, "Ooh yeah," at household objects. Cream of the crop not included. Dig it. So oil up, point at the sign, and remember, in 1988, nobody went over the top rope dry. Good night, jabronis, and we'll see you at the next Rumble.